So in this video, we're going to talk about how this economy is really affecting people's health, right? In particular, people's mental health. I came across this article on Bankrate.com, and it says 47% of Americans say money is negatively impacting their health, their mental health, right? And we all can understand that because money, even though isn't everything, it does help when it comes to buying the things that you need that helps make you happy, right? And we understand the importance of money, and it's crazy because when you look at this Bankrate article, and it says, money is impacting millions of Americans' mental health. It says 47% of U.S. adults say money has a negative impact on their mental health, at least occasionally, including effects like anxiety, stress, worrisome thoughts, loss of sleep, or depression, at least occasionally. And it's so crazy because I remember when I used to be in credit card debt. Now, I never remember being like depressed or anything like that, but you could understand like it can be difficult on your health, on your mental health. It's just like you're going to work and then you're making money, and then all of a sudden all this money is going to pay off debt, and it's just like, okay, what? You're working so hard for what? Like all this money is going away, and that's understandably I put myself in that position, so I understand what kind of stress I'm putting on myself. But for a lot of people, you can understand when it comes to the finances, it can really cause a lot of stress in people's lives. Right. And it's funny too, because I do a lot of reactions like to certain issues on TikTok. Right. A lot of people reacting to when it comes to the economy, or being able to afford to live, or maybe just the work-life balance. And you read the comments and stuff like that. And then a lot of people talk about the economy. And when I go through the comments, because I like to go through the comments just to get an idea of thoughts on video topics, or if I'm gonna react to a video, I want to make sure I just have at least an understanding of what other people are going through, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Some things I agree with, some things I don't, but I just want to get an idea of just a pulse on what people are thinking. And when I read through these comments, some things I agree with, some things I don't. But then I see really some serious comments where they're talking about what's the point? You know what I mean when it says what's the point? What's the point of working all this money and you can't do anything? I can't live. It's what's the point of doing all this? And when I see that, I'm like, wow, does it really get to that point where people want to get to a point where they just want to end it? They just don't want to live anymore. And that's a scary thought to even read that, because I understand things are hard now, and we all understand how difficult the economy is right now. Being able to not afford the things that you want, right? If you grocery prices are more expensive, like rent, not knowing if you're going to get whether you're going to get your next meal, not the fact that you may not be able to afford a home. These things can put a lot of pressure on people when it comes to just living everyday life. And to see these things, it just it makes me think wow, it's really that bad for a lot of people. And like I said, I'm not oblivious to the thing. It's just me mentally, I haven't gotten to that point, but there are a lot of people that have, and it's interesting to see that where it gets to a point where it's really affecting people's mental health. And I remember, like I said, when I used to be in debt, and then I used to get to that point, it's just oh my gosh, all right, how do I get out of this, right? I'm trying to figure out ways to get out of this stuff, right? And eventually I got to a point where I just obviously just stopped paying, and then I went to collections, and eventually I was able to get out of that. But for a lot of people, I think for many people, the biggest struggle is just obviously it's just not, it's what's the point, right? You're working all the time, and then you see your money just go away. You can't do anything. You're just working. You're just working to just pay off bills. And for a lot of people, that is stressful, because, and I think a big thing is that obviously living in a place like the United States, right, where you have this abundance, right? We have so many things to do, and then you got social media on top of it, where you see people living this abundance lifestyle, where they're traveling, they're on vacation, they have the nice cars, nice house, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on people's mental. Right? They see these things and they say, okay, why am I not living this life? Why is this person having so much fun? Why is this person able to enjoy these things and I can't, right? And the reason why I can't is because the way the economy is right now, it's not fair, right? I should be able to do this. And they put a lot of pressure because they're comparing someone's life to theirs, and it makes them feel inadequate. And that's the wrong way. And of course, you don't want to live that type of life. That's not how you want to go live in your life, comparing yourself to others, because more than likely that person you see in your screen on your phone is not really living that life, right? It's just a show. It's fake. It's not real. Okay. And it puts a lot of pressure because everybody wants to enjoy their youth. They want to enjoy their time here on this earth. And obviously in order to do that, you need money. Okay, and of course, in order to get money, you need a job. Unless you have a business, you need some type of way to get income. And for most people, having a 9 to 5, having a job is the way to get that income. But the struggle you'll see with a lot of people is that they're not able to get the wage that they need in order to live that lifestyle that they want, right? You have the wages at here, and then you have cost of living up here, and the math doesn't make sense. And for a lot of people, they're unable to enjoy that life, to go on vacation, to buy things that they want. Of course, that's a really consumer lifestyle, and that's not how you want to live either. But for a lot of people, that's their reality. Right, and for a lot of people, you have to get out that reality, because that just puts so much stress, right? Too much anxiety, and it's causing a lot of this mental health that you see for a lot of people, right? You got to get away from that stuff, because that's causing the mental stress that for a lot of people, and causing their health to deteriorate. And that's the thing. Like I've known, and when I do these reactions and I listen to people like on TikTok and other places, and you see the things that they struggle with when it comes to that. A lot of times it's because, man, I can't even. It's all the things that they can't do, right? It's all the things that they can't do. They can't go on vacation. They can't buy the cars, and that's what's really stressful, especially for the younger group, right? Especially for the younger, the Gen Zs, right? The fact that they can't do all the things that they see other people doing on social media, it causes a lot of stress. And it's so crazy, because like it maybe has to do with, obviously, this like I said, living in America, this abundance. I remember watching the movie Rocky, right? One of the greatest movies that I've watched. It's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite actors of all time. And I remember part 3, right? Rocky 3, where he's fighting Clubber Lang. Right, and he loses the Clubber Lang. Obviously, why? Because he didn't have that hunger. Like in part 1, part 2, where he fought Apollo Creed, he had that hunger. He was a nobody. He was coming up, and he didn't have no money. He was broke. But what he had was that hunger. And when he fought Clubber Lang, he didn't have that. He had the nice house. He had the cars. He had all the rich and fame that he came from. Obviously, being that person that beat Apollo Creed. And you got Clubber Lang, who's hungry. Right, he's hungry for that title. He wants to fight. He has that hunger that Rocky used to have. Right, but of course, when you get all that money and you live in this lifestyle of privilege, you become complacent, and that's what Rocky did. In order to overcome that, he had to go back to his roots, right? And Apollo Creed got him back there. He trained with him. He got him back to becoming that dog that helped when he fought Apollo Creed. He had to bring that back. And when he fought Clubber Lang the second time, he kicked his ass, right? And I think especially for a lot of us in America, we have this privilege to live in America. We have everything in front of us, right? Everything is there for us, where we get everything so much faster, right? Where you look across the world, man, they envy the things that we have. And I think for a lot of people, the economy is getting so hard that people aren't able to enjoy the privileges that we have from a place like the United States. And people are getting to a point where it's like, I live in the United States, I have all this, and I can't enjoy it, right? And it's stressing people out, okay? And the thing is, the reality is that life, like, people may have to deal with the reality that, things might get more difficult. Like this, what we're going through now is like, obviously people are preparing for a recession. People are expecting that we're in recessions. Probably you see these companies going through layoffs. Certain things that happen. People are unable to find jobs. Right, or if they do find a job, they're finding that jobs are not paying enough for them to get the things that they need, and people have to deal with that reality, that the expectation that things might get tougher moving forward. And I don't want to be the person that's all doom and gloom, but these are things that you have to prepare for, and you can see the signs already. You see, like I said, there's jobs. It's tougher to find jobs. You see, people, somewhat spending less now, even though we have $1 trillion of credit card debt. But you see people starting to tap out when it comes to their finances. Savings are decreasing, and you see, certain things where you see where the economy might be tapping out. And people have to prepare for this. And the best way to prepare for this is you need to make sure that you're budgeting correctly. You need to make sure that you're reducing your debt, right? And I think in order to do that, it's about developing that habit, right? Developing those better habits, especially like when it comes to your finance, right? If you're someone that's trying to get in shape, right? You first have to get into the habit of going to the gym. Right? And once you develop that habit of going to the gym 5 days a week, 3, 4, 5 days a week, then you start developing other habits. Like, all right, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. Now I have to start eating better. Right? So now that going to the gym habit has developed habits of eating. So now that you say you got to start eating better, what happens? You start saying, all right, instead of going to the restaurant, I got to start eating. I need to start cooking at home. right? And that saves you money from going to the restaurant, because a lot of people spend money going to the restaurant, right? Because you don't know what's being put into your food, right? So you start developing that habit where you're watching the food that you eat. Right now, instead of going to the restaurant, you're eating your meals at home, and it's like a domino effect. Like one habit leads to another, and then you start getting healthier and you start getting to the shape that you want. It's the same thing with your finances, right? You want to start managing your finances. You're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Then you got to create that budget, and then start, all right, put all my income and then put all my expenses. Then you start looking at it and say, all right, I got to cut these things down. So once you start that budget, and then you get that budget managed, then you start saying, all right, I can't spend money on certain things, right? All right, now I got to cut out all the fat that's in my expenses, right? Because right now I don't have right now I'm spending more than I make, and it's causing me financial stress, right? And then once you got that budget ready, then you can start saying, all right, what do I need to do, right? I've already cut my expenses to the bare minimum. Now what do I need to do? I need to find a way to increase my income, right? Increase my means. And I think for a lot of people, I think that's what they need to start doing. You need to start getting your finances in order. For me, the way I started doing it before I was like, had the $30,000 of credit card debt, the thing that put me that got my finances order was playing the Rich Dad Poor Dad game, Cash Flow, the Cash Flow board game. And you play the board game, you go at that, and it forces you to put your incomes, your assets, your assets and liabilities, and you start to create a budget. And then once I did that, it started making sense, because now I was putting things on paper. And ever since I played that game, I've been managing my money much better. I think for a lot of people, they need to start doing these things, because especially when the economy is getting as tight as it is, this is the time where you need to make sure you're putting yourself in a position financially where if things do get tough, you're able to weather that storm. Okay. And I think that's an important thing for a lot of people, because look, it's tough to see so many people struggling when it comes to their finances, and the fact that they can't do the things that they would like to do: buy a home, all right, go on trips, vacation, hang out with their friends and family. And it is tough, especially for a younger generation, that they can't do this. But like, you know what? It gets to a point where, like, yeah, it's tough, but this is the reality. You don't have that defeatist mindset where, like, all right, you know what? What's the point? There are ways out of these things, that you have to find ways. There are ways for you to make money, especially in the digital age that we live now, where you can make money online. There are definitely ways to do it. You just got to sit down and really concentrate and think about how to do it. Read some books, go on the internet and find ways to do it. It's not easy, but it can be done, and this should force you to do it, because, like, what alternative do you have, right? You don't want to get to a point where you're just like, what's the point? You want to make sure, like, okay, how can I get out of this, right? And there are ways to do it. You just really have to just concentrate, focus, and get to that point where, all right, you're going to be proactive and say, these are the things I'm going to do in order to get to where I want to be. And it's just tough, because when you see these people, when it comes to, like, it says 47% of adults say money has negatively impacted on their mental health. That's not what you want to see, especially the way the economy is right now. And like I said, it could get tougher, right? But there are ways that you can weather that storm. There are plenty of people not making a whole bunch of money that aren't struggling, right? Because they're managing their money properly. But I know people have student loan debts, they have credit card debt, all types of debt, which is making it much more difficult. But there are ways around it, but you just have to have a different mindset when it comes to how you go about it. So, so those are my thoughts. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button and share. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. All right, so guys, take care and have a good one. Later.